should be recorded for later use. So we were talking about project roles in plan-driven project management approach. One of the main role who initiate a project and who is basically a guardian of a project is called project sponsor. Uh, Guys, what do you think? Who were your project sponsors when you started a project?
I had my job director.
Yeah. So your director was your sponsor, no doubt. Anybody else?
Usually in our case, it's the corporate headquarters,
Yeah.
the executives of the corporate office.
Mhm. They are your project sponsor. They are the one who assign any project manager. They are the one who basically decide about the budget of a project, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So project sponsors are the one who provides funding, who provide resources, and they initiate the project. They authorize project managers, firstly assign them, and then authorize project managers to manage the whole project. Then there comes another role called project team. We have seen that project teams could be divided into two categories. One is project management team, the other one is project team or subject matter experts. We have seen examples of both. And then we talked about many other stakeholders that might have their interest in a project. We have seen a variety of internal and external stakeholders and formally defined stakeholders. And the formal definition of stakeholder was any individual, group of individuals, or any organization who can impact or can be impacted or perceive themselves to be impacted by project activities, project decisions, and project outcomes. Then we talked about functional and resource managers and their role on any given project. Then we also saw the main role on waterfall project called project managers. They are basically center of the events. They are the conductors who conduct the whole show. They act as a gel or glue among all team members and other stakeholders. Basically, a project is the project of a project manager. If project fails, basically project manager is failed. So solo responsibility of a project, or you can say not solo, but ultimate responsibility of a project is always on the project manager. Then we have seen the role of a portfolio manager and program manager. We talked about PMI talent triangle for a project manager, what core competencies or what type of talent is required. At least three important components. One is technical project management, the other one is leadership, and the last one is strategic and business management. In fact, the new domains for the exam starting from 1st of January 2021 are basically these three domains. Processes are technical project management, people are basically leadership, and business environment is your understanding of strategic and uh, the strategies and the business itself. Uh, we had a look on core competencies or self-mastery of a project manager. And we have seen its broad categories and subcategories. Broadly, they are leadership skills, communication skills, tool knowledge, expert judgment, analytical skills, and personal skills. Then we shifted our discussion toward another concept. And this concept is the concept of business environment. Uh, the third important talent required for a project manager, the knowledge of business environment. We have seen that business environment could be divided into two different types. One is enterprise environmental factors, other are organization process assets. Enterprise environmental factors are basically those factors which are not in the control of a project team and project manager, but they influence, they constrain, and also they direct uh, portfolio, program, and project activities, decisions, and sometimes also impact on their outcomes. We have seen that EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, could be divided into external and internal uh, environmental factors. But we didn't discuss uh, different examples of external and internal enterprise environmental factors. What do you think, guys? What does it mean, external enterprise environmental factors?
Exchange rate, markets.
Very important. Exchange rate, if you are doing some international projects, and then market, or you can say market conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
I said legislation.
Yeah, legislations, or in other words, government, regulatory authorities, and legislation from them. All those are different external environmental factors. Anything else?
In our case, consents, council consents,
Yeah.
traffic management plans.
Yeah. So these are basically some legal and regulatory requirements, isn't it?
COVID-19.
Yeah, this is another enterprise.
Yes, COVID-19, you're right.
Yeah, true. And in fact, we really don't know, is it external or internal, but it is an environmental factor that limit us very much. Any other example?
Weather condition.
Yeah, weather conditions. Yeah. In fact, when we do our scheduling, weather conditions are pretty important. In fact, not only weather condition, the whole geography where project is going on, it determines how we are going to do our scheduling and how we are going to identify our risks. For example, if a project is being done in a country like maybe in South Asia, like India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh, where rains are very few. They are not frequent at all. On the other side, if we talk about New Zealand, rains are much more often than any other country. So when we do our risk management, our scheduling, it would be totally different for two different regions. Yeah. Any other example?
Faiz, sorry, this is completely out of topic, okay? But your headset tonight is quite different from the last two nights, sorry. And your headset, I don't know if it's just, I just observe it myself, or if everybody actually has noticed it.
Yeah, I can't hear as well. It's almost like your headset's not working and you're just talking to the computer.
Because like when you move Faiz, it creates a static.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it sort of touches your mouth or face, I think. Yeah, you probably just move it a little bit away. Sorry, I'm just being
Yes, thanks a lot. Basically, that's very productive feedback.
That's actually a lot better right now, I think.
Okay.
So hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope it will go fine.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, thanks, Grace. Now let's come back to different examples of external enterprise environmental factors. We talked about exchange rates, market conditions, legal regulatory requirements, COVID, weather, geographical conditions, and also competitors. All these are different different external enterprise environmental factors that we must consider while we are planning and when we are executing our projects. On the other side, what could be the different examples of internal enterprise environmental factors?
sick leave,
Yeah,
resources not available.
yeah, resources not available, and their working hours, organizational culture, also team, if it's a dedicated team or it's a part-time team, it is co-located or it is a virtual team. All these are different internal enterprise environmental factors we should think about while we are planning and executing our project. On the other side, we have seen that the other type of business environment that influence our project are our organizational process assets. We divided them into three types. The first one were processes, policies, and procedures. Also, some standard templates. And the second example was corporate knowledge base that is present in the form of lesson learned, retrospectives, knowledge repositories, and in the mind of subject matter experts. We also saw that knowledge could be divided into two types. One was explicit knowledge that can be well defined. On the other side, second type, the tacit knowledge, is the knowledge that is like more like your beliefs, your know-how, your experience, but you really cannot express it. In that case, our team and subject matter experts, they are important resource of this type of tacit knowledge. So it's always good to retain our teams and subject matter experts from project to project for a long time because they understand things, they understand the organization very well. We define assumptions. We have seen that assumptions are something we believe it's true, but it's not proven. Once assumption proven wrong, they become risks and we have to manage those risks. We also talk about constraints. We know triple constraints: schedule, cost, and scope. These triple constraints are the most important constraints. They determine the success or failure of a project, but also quality, customer satisfaction, risk, and resources are few examples of other constraints under which we have to execute our project. We also saw that stakeholders and stakeholder engagement is one of the most difficult but important tasks on any project. In fact, project manager always keep on engaging stakeholder, communicating stakeholders, and always bringing them on the right side of the picture. And for that sake, as a project manager, you should have a good understanding of three core knowledge areas. The first one is stakeholder management itself. The second one is resource management, especially your team or human resource, and then communications management. We also saw the examples of work performance data, that is a raw data. And when we analyze and assess this raw data, it becomes a useful information for us. And then we convert this information in the form of reports so that our stakeholders can use those reports. We had a quick look on different tools and techniques that will come when we will be discussing different processes. Here just a hint of those tools and techniques are given. We will go in depth of all of these techniques. They are data gathering, data analysis, data representation, decision making, communication, interpersonal and team skills, estimating techniques, project management information system, expert judgment, and meetings. Then we shifted our discussion to our next chapter, that was project management processes. We started our discussion with project lifecycle. We have seen that a project lifecycle is basically those phases, those steps through which a project passes through. Project lifecycle is specific and different for each project, for each industry. In fact, we have seen the examples of two projects, thanks to Tanya and Grace. Tanya talked about facilities management project or events management project. I think it was events management project.
It was vision and values rollout.
Yep. So Tanya talked about vision and value project life cycle, and then Grace talked about an IT project and 3 different phases of that IT project. We clearly see that small and medium size of projects, for them, maybe we do a thorough planning for all the phases in the start and then execute those phases as per the plan. However, if projects are large, in that case, we might have to do separate planning for each of the phase, separate execution, monitoring and control. And then once one phase is finished, then we shift towards second phase and then third phase. But all the phases are normally interdependent on each other, or second phase is dependent on the success of first phase. Then we talked about different project management approaches, 3 main approaches: plan-driven, change-driven, and hybrid approach. In fact, if I wanna draw these approaches on a continuum, on one side, we have waterfall approach. Just excuse me for my writing because I'm using my mouse. On one side, we have waterfall approach. This is also called plan-driven or predictive project management approach. On the other side, we have agile approach. We also called agile approach as change-driven or adaptive project management approach. And in the middle, we have 2 other approaches. One is called iterative approach, and the other is called incremental approach. Agile approach is in fact combination of both iterative and incremental approach. Iterative approach talks about where we do our project work in an iterative fashion. We run different iterations, different sprints of 1 to 4 weeks, and we get the product at the end. Remember guys, I'm not talking about agile. I'm talking about iterative approach. Multiple iterations, we get the outcome at the end. On the other side, the incremental approach is where basically we get increments of our products. And we have seen one example. For example, if we want to build a car, firstly we build a skateboard, then a bicycle, then a bike, then the whole car. This is incremental approach. On the other side, agile approach is basically a combination of both iterative and incremental approach. Hybrid approach, this is basically just a combination of plan-driven and change-driven approach. And we will see one example of hybrid approach today. We have seen that most of the project management approaches, they work on the base of dimming cycle. Dimming cycle is the famous PDCA cycle that talks about firstly you plan, then you do, then you check and act. Our waterfall approach, our agile approach, both work based on PDCA cycle. We also see that different process groups from initiating till closing, how they are linked with each other, and how can we move from one process group to another process group, and how can we go back to the previous process group. Any question about this figure?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then we talked about one example, web application development project. We have seen different phases, starting from need assessment or requirements gathering up to migration to live, or from development to operations. We have seen that when we use a waterfall approach, after initiating the project, we do a thorough planning for each of the phase. Once thorough planning is done, then we execute that plan for each phase and keep on monitoring and control. Important thing is that we do a proper planning, then execution, and we get the outcome at the end. On the other side, we have seen that in Agile approach, we really don't do a very thorough planning in the start because of multiple reasons. And we have seen those reasons, especially in case when our projects are complicated or complex. Complicated projects are those projects when stakeholder requirements or customer requirements are keep on changing. And disruptive technologies are pretty disruptive. They are changing too, and we really don't know that if we are halfway, if technology change, what would we do? So for that sake, we really don't spend a lot of time on the initial planning. uh, when I say initial planning, I mean to say detailed planning. In fact, what we do, we run our project in the form of iterations of 1 to 4 weeks, preferably 1 week or 2 weeks. And during each iteration, we run through all the phases. Mean in 1 week time, we get the requirements, we do initial structure, we do analysis and design, development, testing, and also from development to operation. And then, but only for maybe 1 to 2 features. And in next iteration, we do the same thing, but for micro level requirements or 1 to 2 more features, so on and so forth. And each time the features we produce, we normally call them MMF. MMF stands for minimal marketable features. Those features that could be used. These are called minimum marketable features. Now, let's have a quick look on hybrid approach. From name, you can understand that a hybrid approach is just a combination of waterfall and agile approach. What normally we do in a hybrid approach, we divide it into 2 parts. One part is called visioning. The other part is called engineering. In visioning part, we talked about business case writing, feasibility study, financial analysis, or high-level planning, requirements gathering, all those bureaucratic activities or corporate activities, approval activities that we need to do, we do it here in the visioning section. On the other side, when our actual development work starts, instead of working in a plan-driven manner, we do this work in an agile manner. Agile manner, we are going to look on agile way of working very soon with the help of one example. But what happens in any agile method, we basically work in a cycle. We develop, test, and show to our clients, but only 1 to 2 features, 1 to 2 user stories in each week or bi-weekly. And we keep on producing those minimum marketable features of a product. You can clearly see the same concept here. The visioning is done here in waterfall manner. Here, basically, we do a lot of different work. This work is called pre-development work. Here, we assess our organization, we investigate the problems, we propose some high-level solutions, we do some feasibility studies, financial studies, set product vision, product roadmap, gather high-level requirements, and do a planning too. But once everything is done, then we go to engineering section where our development work is done. But this time it is in an agile way. We do our solution design, we implement that design, basically develop and implement, both are same. And we also test it. And then we present it to our stakeholders or to our clients so that they can evaluate it, they can accept the outcome of each iteration, each sprint that is only 1 to 4 weeks long. Any question about hybrid approach?
Hi, this is the you mentioned minimum viable product yesterday.
Yeah, I discussed two things. One was minimum viable product, and the other thing was minimum marketable features. So these are two terminologies and they have small difference. Minimum viable product is basically that product that could be used, or in other words, if we talk about our website, a very basic version of any website could be a minimum viable product, or any software solution that could be used by our customers. On the other side, minimum marketable features mean we really want that in each iteration. For example, if we consider it an iteration, in each iteration, the work we are producing should be a feature that could be used, a marketable feature. So what happens is when we run our first iteration or first 2 to 3 iterations or our first release, our focus is on producing a minimal viable product. Once minimum viable product is produced, next time what we do, for each iteration, we try to add one MMF, at least one MMF or minimum marketable feature in our minimum viable product. Does it make some sense?
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you.
Now, let's have a close look on Agile. It's pretty important, especially in case if you cannot appear for the exam before 31st of December, you should have a very clear understanding about Agile, because around 23% questions will come from Agile. And once you will know about Agile, clearly you can also answer about hybrid approach questions. How many of you know about Scrum?
Only self-read for me.
Yeah. Sorry, Tanya?
Only what I've read myself, so I haven't had anything formal.
Okay. Anybody else? What happened is nowadays, if you see, there are a lot of different jobs available related to Scrum Masters or Agile coaches. Because like most of the organizations, what they are trying to do, they are shifting towards Agile way of working. They are transforming their organization. In fact, Agile or Scrum is a buzzword. Let's see in depth that what does it mean Agile, what does it mean Scrum, what are different methods available for Agile, so on and so forth. When we say Agile, Agile is a mindset. It is basically not any method or process. It is a mindset of doing projects. Initially, this mindset was developed by software industry. Now many other industries are adopting them. software industry, when they set this mindset, they started by basically being agile and by embracing this mindset, embracing agile mindset instead of just using a particular agile method. So, but when all those other organizations, other sectors, they start adopting agile because they really don't know that what is the agile mindset. What they start doing is, instead of being agile, they start doing agile. And that is basically resulted in not a fruitful outcome. Uh, Again, the reason was they want to shift their organization in agile way of working, but they didn't change uh, their mind. They didn't embrace the agile values, agile principles. They just used agile methods in their way of working. In fact, when we talk about agile methods here, at the moment there are dozens of agile methods that exist. You can choose any agile method. For example, Scrum is one agile method. Another agile method is called extreme programming. Then there is another method called Kanban. And in fact, most of you might heard about Kanban. Similarly, another method is for enterprise level agile called SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework for Enterprises. So all these are different methods different organizations are using. But before using those methods, it's always recommended that firstly, be agile, then before doing your agile. When we say be agile, we are saying that we should accept this mindset, agile mindset, embrace it, and also advocate it among your colleagues, among your team members, among other teams within the organization. And this mindset is based on 4 values that we are going to look in the coming slide. And the whole mindset is established based on 12 different principles. We will also have a quick look on the principles. However, I will share those principles with you and you can learn about those principles in more depth in your free time. And then there comes 100, not if not 100, dozens of agile methods, and any one of those methods you can choose for your organization. And when you choose a method, you always need to think about what suits your organization the most. At the moment, we can basically count to too many different agile methods. But important thing to remember is you should always start your journey from accepting the mindset towards doing agile. But no doubt, both are important. Being agile and doing agile for a better outcome for your organization and for your team. Any questions? Now, let's talk about those 4 values of the Agile on which Agile mindset is established. Can anybody help me to read them?
Yeah. So 4 values of the Agile: individual and interactions over processes and tools.
Yep.
Working. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
That's fine, but the important thing here is basically when they set their agile values, they said that we normally prefer individuals and interactions over process and tools. Yeah.
Working products over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiations. Responding to change over following a plan.
So these are 4 values. And they said that the people who basically established this agile way of working, they said that no doubt these things have their own importance. But the thing is, we give more importance to these components over these components. We prefer uh, talking with individuals over process and tools, because these are the individuals who make any project successful. Then our focus is also always on the working products or working solution or working software, because Agile came from software. You will find out there will be many different software terminologies used in Agile. I will try to minimize them, but still they would be there. Working products over comprehensive documentation, because in the end, products is our aim, client's aim. And then we really want to work closely with the customer instead of spending a lot of hours, a lot of weeks over contract negotiations and fixing the scope. And then we always welcome change. Not only we welcome change, we prepare ourselves, we make ourselves ready to accept the change and execute the change anytime it comes. Now, before going into an example of agile methods, that is basically Scrum, and in fact, 70% of the teams who are using agile methods, they are using Scrum as an agile method. Before going deep into Scrum method, let's go back and let me share agile principles so that we can see that what agile talks about, what are the main principles, those foundational principles on which the building of agile exists. So just give me a second and let me share another document. It's almost there. Just excuse me. Okay. Yeah. Can you guys see this picture?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So,
Yes.
yeah, Pedro, can we go through each of these principles? The first one, the first agile principle is?
Satisfy the customer.
Yeah, and we normally satisfy the customer as per agile mindset. We satisfy the customers by giving them early and continuous delivery of the valuable solutions. If you remember when we were talking about iterations and sprints, we said that at the end of each iteration, each sprint, we produce some useful deliverables, and we give those deliverables to our customers so that they can use it. This is called continuous and early delivery to the customers so that they can start using the product from day one, instead of waiting for the whole project to be completed in, for example, 8 months time. They can start using the product after 1 month. Next.
Welcome change.
So when we talk about welcome change, we have seen that one of the important value of Agile manifesto was that we welcome change over following a plan. Uh, in fact, we welcome and embrace change anytime, even later in the project or product development. However, in our mature project approach, that is plan-driven approach, once scope is fixed, normally we try to stick with that scope until uh, a very important change come and it is approved through a proper change control procedure. For example, in the construction industry, once scope is defined about a building, about a highway, or about a bridge, we normally stick with that scope. We really don't change it. On the other side, this thing really doesn't work in software industry, in technology industry, where projects are more knowledge projects than industry projects. Next.
Deliver frequently.
Yeah. So when we say deliver frequently, basically we are talking about our sprints. We keep on completing our features. We keep on completing our user stories in each sprint. So by doing that, we keep on delivering the solution features to our customers in a frequent manner. Yeah. Next, please. Grace.
Work together.
So when we talk about work together, normally there is a, we call it gulf of evaluation. What does it mean? It means that normally the development team and the business team or business stakeholders, they really don't work together. And in fact, there is always that gap between the expectations of business team or the clients and what development team produce. So to bridge this gap, Agile prefers or recommends that business people and the engineers or the developers, they should work together throughout the project. In fact, both are working on the project. In fact, we are going to talk about different roles soon on any given Agile project, and you will see what does it mean working together. Next.
Trust and support.
Yeah, so instead of managing team, we trust on the team members. We don't manage the team. Team is self-managed, self-organized, self-led, self-motivated. As I just said that soon we are going to see different roles on any Agile project, and you will find out there is no project manager on Agile projects. In fact, team is the one who manage, who organize the whole project. Next, Pedro.
Face-to-face conversation.
In fact, face-to-face conversation is the richest medium where communication is more effective, more rich, and we can clearly understand each other. So based on this principle, Agile mindset recommends that our team should be dedicated and should be co-located. Mean they should be sitting in a common space with no separate rooms or separate desks, and they are working together. By doing that, they learn from each other and they communicate in a much better way. A type of osmotic communication is done between the team members and they perform much better. However, nowadays, as life is changed, everything has gone digital, gone live. uh, the trend toward virtual teams has been increased. On one side, where Agile prefers for co-located teams. On the other side, because of many different reasons, many different advantages, teams are mostly distributed. Few team members are always virtual. Just think about business team is sitting, for example, in New Zealand. Design team is sitting in Germany, where development team is sitting in India. So, but they all are working together, and in fact, they are working in an agile way. So it's a bit contradictory. However, it is highly recommended, if possible, if team is virtual, then at least for first 1 to 2 iterations, bring them together at one place. Either the business team and design team visit India, or the development team from India can visit to one common place where people can work for at least 1 to 2 sprints together. They get a good know-how, familiarize with each other's culture, each other's understanding, and then if later they go back and work in a virtual environment, the communication would be still effective. Does it make some sense, guys?
Yes, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you. So now next, Myra, principle number 7.
Working software.
So working software, because it's from software industry, so that's why they are talking about working software. You can consider it a working solution. That could be any type of solution according to your industry. They say that when we measure our team performance, when we measure our success, we always measure the working solution. Maybe you heard about the terminology done or done. So what is this terminology? It says that we really don't focus on progress, that, oh, this task is 20% completed or 70% completed. We only consider it completed. We only consider it progressed once it is developed, tested, and accepted by the client. Mean done. Uh, and this should be always a working solution or some features of that working solution. Next.
Sustainable development.
And when we say sustainable development, it talks about many different things. One is Agile really doesn't mean that you should work day and night. It's more about sustainable work. That is basically 40 hours of work each day. If we will not put extra pressure on our development team, and in fact, team will decide that how much work they can do. Here in this particular diagram, they are showing those bar charts. In those bar charts, each of the bar chart is showing one iteration. Iteration mean 2 weeks period, for example. In each iteration, they are showing that how many story points or how many features they completed. For example, uh, in first iteration, they completed 2 features. In next iteration, they completed 1. In next iteration, 2, so on, so forth. It is the team who determines that how many features they can complete. And again, remember, where team is self-organized, self-managed, they are also self-responsible, and they should be motivated individuals. Number 9.
Continuous attention.
So continuous attention talks about that we really get a good outcome. We really do agile way when our focus is on technical excellence and good design. Basically, it is talking about design thinking, how we are going to apply design thinking in our work. Then there comes number 10. Yes, Tanya.
Maintain simplicity.
So maintain simplicity, talk about maximizing the amount of work not done. So Agile believes that we should always try to do anything in a simplest way. We should build those solutions that should be effective but should be simple too. In other words, when we will develop the simple solutions, not very complicated solutions, then it would be easy to work on those solutions. So we really want to maximize the amount of work not done, but we want effective solutions. On the other side, we wanna minimize our waste. Waste in software terms, this is called technical debt. We wanna reduce our technical debt. In terms of lean, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of construction, we say that it is minimization of waste. We really want to minimize our waste. And in fact, there are many different examples of minimizing waste. Next.
Self-organizing teams.
We already talked about self-organizing teams. Self-organizing teams are those teams who are motivated individuals, but there are no project managers on them. Normally, project managers are not the experts in the domain. They develop the plans and team follows them in Waterfall Approach. However, Agile Mindset believes that the best architecture and best design always comes from the team. When team is the one who self-organize, who self-manage the whole work. In fact, when we are going to see the Scrum method, we are going to see in more depth that what does it mean? Self-organizing, self-managing, or self-directing. Last.
Reflect and adjust.
Reflect and adjust. What happens in waterfall methods? Normally lesson learned are written at the end of a project or sometimes at the end of a phase. The purpose of writing lesson learned is that what happened on our projects, what went well, what didn't go well, and how the teams on the future projects, on upcoming projects can learn from our lessons learned. That's the purpose. However, what happens when new team, new project manager, they really don't read the lessons learned because they think that, now we are not going to make mistakes made by the other team, or my project is different. Why should I read the lesson learned? Because their project was different than mine, even they are in the same organization. Or in other words, they just become the part of an archive and nobody gets those lessons learned. So it's pretty useless. This approach is pretty useless that we use on Waterfall approach. On the other side, in Agile, instead of lesson learned, we go for retrospectives. And those retrospectives, those self-reflections are done at the end of each sprint or at the end of each iteration. It means that if it is 1 week sprint or 1 week iteration, at the end of the week, the team sits down and they talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and how to improve. And their focus of discussion is about three things: the product they are building, the processes they are using, and the people, mean themselves. They talk about how can they improve those three bits. So this is reflect and adjust. Based on these principles, these 12 principles, different methods are established. Uh, we already talked about different methods. Now let's go back and go in depth of one method called Scrum.
Sorry, just on that last one, you said there are three things when you do the
Yes.
review, product building,
Yeah.
processes,
So
reviews.
yeah, true. Product, processes, people.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, most welcome. Now, let's talk about one of the method of Agile. Most of the people who are new to Agile, they think that Scrum is Agile. Scrum is only Agile. Nothing else is Agile. That's not the case. In fact, there are a lot of different methodologies that are used as Agile. Let me write down few of them here for you. One is Scrum, and other one is XP. XP stands for Extreme Programming. And other one is FDD. FDD stands for Feature Driven Development. Another method is Crystal methodologies. Crystal methodologies are also Agile methodologies. Another type is SAFe. SAFe stands for Scaled Agile Framework for enterprises. In fact, XP, FDD, Scrum, all these methods are used for teams. Teams mean they are effective on a team level, and normally team consists of 6 to 10 people. They work together. They are called Scrum team or Agile team. These methods, Scrum, XP, and FDD, could be useful for one team. Same method could be applied to another team, so on and so forth. But Scrum, XP, FDD, Crystal methodologies, they are not used for enterprises or at organizational level. For organizational level, normally we go for scaled agile frameworks. One of them is called SAFe, and other is called LESS. LESS stands for LESS. No, I cannot write properly. Large scale Scrum. Similarly, PMI, the organization I am representing, and PMP is their flagship certification. They talk about disciplined agile. Disciplined agile is again one of way of working for agile. However, disciplined agile is different than SAFe or Scrum. SAFe and Scrums are more prescriptive processes, prescriptive frameworks. Someone who want to use Scrum for their team, Scrum recommends that they should implement Scrum process, Scrum method as it is. Similarly, if someone want to implement SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, for their organizations on the enterprise level, SAFe recommends that they should implement this framework as it is, from top to down, from governance to team level. Implement the whole framework as it is. On the other side, disciplined agile, that is PMI IP, it's more agnostic way of working, agile way of working. They give you the best practices. They give you the toolkit to implement for your enterprise, for your management, for your teams. But those toolkits, those, what we call it, those practices, they are not prescriptive. They are just recommendations, and they don't, discipline agile really doesn't give any particular method or any particular framework to use. Now let's come back to our main discussion, that is Scrum. In Scrum, as I already told you, it is normally used at a team level. Team should be around 6 to 10 people, not more than that. Otherwise, it really doesn't work. Scrum consists of 3 main roles. Scrum method. Remember, none of the agile method has a project manager role. The 3 roles on Scrum are product owner. Second is Scrum master. And the third role is developers. Now, let's have a look on all of these roles. And how they work. When we talk about product owner, if you remember, we said that work together, where business people and development team should work together. Product owner is in fact voice of the customer, voice of the client, voice of the business. Product owner always come from the client side, or you can say that if it's an internal project, come from the business side. He is the one who is a bridge between business and between the team. Product owner is the one who owns the product. He or she is the solo responsible of the product. On one end, he or she talks with many different business stakeholders, many different functional managers, the CEOs, get their requirements, and then represent those requirements to the development team in the form of product backlog. Obviously, project vision is set by the senior management with the help of product owner. But important thing is all the requirements is the responsibility of product owner. He gathers, obviously with the help of other team members, for example, business analysts. He gathers all those requirements from all business stakeholders, from the client, and put it where? In a product backlog. In Waterfall, our work breakdown structure. How many of you use work breakdown structure?
Yep, have done.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I also used it.
Yeah, anybody else? Myra or Pedro, do you ever use work breakdown structure?
Yes, we do, Vice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So product backlog is similar to work breakdown structure. This is a document that is the property of product owner. Normally, it's a single document. All the requirements are in this document, and it's responsibility of product owner always keep on grooming the product backlog. Grooming the product backlog means that always improving it, always putting new and new requirements into it, and always keep on prioritizing the product backlog. In fact, what happens is, let me clear this area. What happens is, in product backlog, the features, the requirements are always put in terms of their priorities. What does it mean? It means that the requirement or the feature or the user story on which product owner want the development team to work at is always at number one. This concept is called prioritized backlog. In fact, in product backlog, not only we put the requirements or our features, but we also put our risks, and we prioritize risks too. Mean there could be the chances that the top priority is for our requirement, call it requirement 1, and the second priority is to a risk, that you can say risk 1. It means the team, when they will look on the product backlog, firstly they will work on requirement 1, feature 1. When it will be completed, then they will not do any development work, but they will do the work that will reduce our risk, minimize our risk, or fully eliminate this risk. This type of concept where requirements and risks are together in a product backlog is called risk adjusted backlog. I am taking all those buzzwords, those words that may come on exam. So you should have a clear understanding, and you are always welcome to ask the questions if you don't understand. So risk adjusted backlogs are those backlogs where that contain both features and the risks into it. And product backlog is the property of a product owner. He or she is the one who can prioritize this backlog. It will be his or her choice where to put which feature, on top, on the bottom. Anytime he or she can prioritize the features. Also, the product owner can also remove one feature, add another feature. In other words, scope is always changing, and team really doesn't bother what is in the product backlog. What they do is, once one iteration or one sprint is finished, they come back, look at the backlog, and pick the top priority items. That could be 1 or 2. It depends. Okay. The next thing is, I am alternatively using the words iteration and sprints. There is no difference between two. Iteration is a generic term, whereas sprint is the term used by Scrum method. Okay, guys. Now let's move further. Our second role, that is development team, or we also call them developers. In fact, these developers could be programmers, could be testers, could be business analysts, could be architects, could be designers, UX designers. Even now the trend is people stop calling their team members with their expertise. They are not saying that he is the architect and she is the business analyst and that person is a UX designer. Now everybody is called developer without considering their hierarchy, that he's big boss or senior manager, nothing. Everybody is now called developers. They are the one who work on the project, who develop the solutions. This development team or the developers, what they do is they develop the solutions. How they develop the solutions? they go to product backlog, they fetch the top requirements, top features, top user stories, or top risks, whatever is on the top. Okay, and then from product backlog, they bring it to their sprint backlog or iteration backlog. Sprint backlog or iteration backlog is subset of product backlog. The role of product owner is finished here. Now it is team responsibility. It is the responsibility of that self-organizing, self-directed team how to do this work, how to organize this work, how to give the direction to the whole next sprint. Okay, they do a meeting, they do a workshop, they use many different collaboration games, collaboration workshops, and they do many different tasks when they are doing their planning for next 1 to 4 weeks. Remember, on agile level, 1 to 4 weeks are recommended. However, at Scrum level, that is just a process or just a method of agile. Normally 2 weeks are used for one sprint. So the Scrum team or developers, okay, they sit down and they do a very thorough planning for their iteration, and they organize the work as per the expertise of the team members. In fact, team members decide that what work they are going to do. When we talk about Scrum team or our developers, uh, on one end, we want them motivated individuals, but on the other side, we really want them to be journalizing specialists. Journalizing specialists are those people who got more than one skill. So if you consider it one skill like I-shape, okay, these Scrum team members or developers, very tough to find, no doubt. They are normally not I-shaped professional. In fact, they are T-shaped professionals, and nowadays uh, they call them M-shaped professionals. These are those professionals who got more than one skill. What does it mean? Business analysts, they can also work as a quality assurance guys or testers. Similarly, if required, the programmers can gather the requirements, or if required, the architect do some programming, so on, so forth. This concept of journalizing specialists, it helps to reduce the bottlenecks. Bottlenecks are normally produced when one or two team members or specialists, they leave the team, they move on. Then what happens? Team really cannot move because they don't know that what type of work that subject matter expert is doing. However, if team is a combination of journalizing specialists, maybe with 1 week of training or 1 week of working with another team member, uh, they can start managing the work of that guy who left the team in the middle. Okay, so uh, output of this sprint planning workshops or meeting is obviously a plan for the sprint for 2 weeks. Okay, that plan talk about how to design the solution, how to develop it, how to test it, and once a solution is designed, developed, and tested, the solution means the features of the solution. Those features, those products, they are presented to stakeholders. So what team does? Team present the completed features to the client, or in other words, voice of the client or voice of the customer called product owner. Okay, there could be some other client representatives who can come and see that features are working as per their requirements or not. This work is done at the end of each sprint or each iteration. However, what team does is team do a daily scrum, or we call it daily stand-up. In terms of Scrum language, we call it daily Scrum. In generic Agile language, we call it daily stand-up. Normally, this stand-up runs for 15 minutes only in the morning. And the purpose of that daily Scrum is not a status meeting, not a lot of discussions, but to the point discussion by the team members. And this discussion normally is around what work has been done, what work team members are going to do, and if there is any impediment, any issue. But again, they just mention the impediment, mention the issue. They don't go in the resolution of that issue. They resolve that issue separately, but not in the daily Scrum meeting. In fact, in daily Scrum meetings, mostly the development team and especially those members who have something to say, they attend this meeting. And Scrum Master, a very important role. Sometimes we also call them Agile Coach. Both are same. Okay. Scrum Masters are for Scrum method. Agile Coaches are for any type of Agile methods. Scrum Masters are Agile Coaches. They run the whole show. Again, they are not the project managers. When they run the whole show, they ensure that the Scrum process or the Agile method is being followed. For example, sprints are only 2 weeks. Daily Scrum is not increasing for more than 15 minutes. If there are any impediments on the way of the team, should be removed. If team need any resources, those resources should be provided. Team must present the product features to the clients, to the customers at the end of each sprint. And at the end of each sprint, after doing the demo, after doing the sprint review in front of customers, team also sit down and do a retrospective, a reflective process. This process talks about how we are doing, what went well, what didn't go well, and how to improve. And it focuses, as I mentioned, on people, processes, and the product itself. Once 2 weeks sprint is done, team goes back and look at the product backlog that is basically managed by our product owner and pick next 2 features, next 2 user stories, and again, it's not compulsory to. Team knows that how much work they can do. It could be 1 user story. It could be 2 to 3 user stories, 4 user stories, totally depends on team. It's not the decision of product owner that how many features are going to be completed in next sprint. It's the decision of the team who decide that how many user stories could be completed. This is overall a Scrum method. When multiple sprints, multiple iterations are run, for example, 4 to 5, normally we get a release, a version of our working solution or our product. Any question about it?
This is more applicable to production manufacturing company phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So as we previously discussed that Scrum methods or Agile methods are mostly in the software development. However, other organizations started adopting it. Again, their practices are comparatively customized. I gave example of Auckland Council. They run their whole procurement process based on Scrum. In fact, what they did is they run a sprint of 1 day, and with the help of 3 sprints, they completed the whole procurement process where all different vendors or customers, they come in one place, they worked as a co-located teams, and user requirements are given by Auckland Council in a product backlog, and based on that user requirements, different proposals are given by their vendors teams, and at the end a decision was made that who is going to win which tender, or or they completed the procurement process within 3 days. So it could be applied to other industries, but again, it is more mature for software industry.
Guys, what are the main barriers to successful implementation?
I think it's more about the mindset. What happens is like it requires organizational change. When we say organizational change, the major issue is this change should always come from the senior management, from the governance. If the mindset of the governance won't change, it really doesn't work. There are also many other challenges faced by the teams. For example, one challenge is team adopted Scrum. Within 1 month, they thought it's not working at all. Let's go back. Let's go back to our old approach. We are very conservative by our nature. We always want to fail by using our old approach. Within 1 month, people start thinking that it's not working. Let's change it, or let's go back to our previous plan-driven approach. So this is another issue teams face, that because of one reason or another reason, they start feeling that Scrum is not working. Another issue is they may adopt one or two ceremonies, one or two artifacts of Scrum, but not others. For example, they say that we love product backlog, we love sprint planning. It's tough to do daily Scrum because Anna, I really cannot do it. Really cannot make it. Other thing that, okay, we can do daily Scrum, but retrospective is tough to do. Why to waste so much of time? But on the other side, this method and its ceremonies or meetings, they are very much interlinked with each other. They help each other to be successful. But what happens, sometimes teams only use few artifacts, but not all the artifacts. In fact, there is a model called 𝐂𝐻𝐿. This is a Japanese word. 𝐂𝐻𝐿 says that 𝐂 means where you have to follow the process as it is when you are new. Then you should go to next level, that is level of 𝐻, where you deliberately go away from the main process for the sake of improvement or for the sake of experiment. If you change this process a bit, how it goes. But 𝐻 should come when you are fully expert of the process, fully expert of 𝐂 model. Okay. And then there comes 𝐸. This is a stage when you become the expert by yourself. You become the authority in that domain. And then whatever you do it, basically is the best practice. That is the last stage of Shuhari model. But what happened is people start getting tired because they start accepting results within 1 month by implementing a new method. So this change, this organizational change is always difficult to accept. And it only comes when our senior management, our governance, they accept it, when in fact the whole organization start accepting it. But if only one team is doing Scrum, all other are doing standard ways of working, then it's pretty tough.
Thank you.
So this was our Scrum process. We have seen 3 roles in the previous slide. One was product owner, that was voice of the customer. Other was development team, who are basically developers, programmers, testers, quality assurance team, architects, designers. In fact, for different industries, these developers, their naming convention would be different. For example, in human resource or HR, we might not have programmers. There would be some other people working as a HR team. But what we are discussing in this slide is basically our third role. Third role was Scrum Master or Agile Coach. Agile Coach or Scrum Master are not the project managers. They don't manage the team. In fact, they exhibit servant leadership. What is servant leadership? It talks about 4 primary duties. The first is if there are some interruptions from other departments, from senior management towards team, Scrum Master or Agile Coach should protect the team from all unnecessary diversions, all unnecessary requirements from the stakeholders. Because, let me give you an example. One of the Agile principle says that the communication should be very transparent. Okay. When we say communication should be very transparent in Agile way of working, what Agile team does normally in their common space, they also put big boards. We normally call them visual boards or Kanban boards, where they put all of their progress, all of their working. That working is available for everyone in the organization. He who just passed by can look at what team is working and how is their progress going. If someone basically any stakeholder who is just passing by and start recommending something that is unnecessary, it's a responsibility of Agile Coach to protect the team from all those unnecessary recommendations or diversions. Another important duty is remove impediments to the progress. It includes many different bits. It also includes waste minimization, process improvement, all those bits that basically create obstacles on the way of team's progress. Next is communicate and re-communicate the project vision. It's very important. What happens is, like, as team passes by, teams start forgetting that for what purpose a project is started. What were the strategic objectives? What was the product vision for which this product is initiated? This project is funding. It means that then they may start thinking many other bits, many other unnecessary features that need to be added, that they might recommend to add in the product. It's a role of Scrum Master or Agile Coach that they should keep their team focused on the product vision. That's what we need to do. That's the purpose. And he or she should keep on communicating and re-communicating the project vision with the team during their daily scrums or their retrospectives or during the planning meetings. And the last one is carry food and water. Basically, it is talking about whatever team needs, maybe internet connection, computer, printer, scanner, whatever is missing. Normally, Agile coach and Scrum Master ensure that it should be available. Also, if you remember on the previous slide, when we talked about daily Scrum, we said that it's a 15 minutes meeting, but it covers what has been done, what will be done, what obstacles are on the way. In 15 minutes meeting, they really don't resolve the obstacles. In fact, the team member who is facing those impediments, those obstacles, separately after the meeting, talk with the Scrum Master or the Agile coach. That's the issue I am facing, and Agile coach then try to resolve that issue. So they exhibit a servant leadership model. Any questions so far? Anyone, any question? Okay, now let's move further. So this was a brief introduction of Agile, and we discussed one of the process of Agile, one of the method of Agile called Scrum. We dig a bit deep into Scrum. Now let's go back to our waterfall method. That is one of the mature method that is used in most of the industries. Now in rest of the slides, rest of the sessions, we will keep on discussing waterfall method in more detail, but at the end of each chapter, we will also see that whatever work, either it's related to integration, related to scope or cost or schedule, what are the agile practices? But it was pretty important that you should have a background or a fundamental understanding of Agile. I hope now you got some good idea. Also, I shared with you one chapter that was on Agile fundamentals. You can go through it. And if you have any question, you can ask me. Excuse me. Now let's come back to our waterfall approach. Waterfall approach consists of 49 processes as per PMI. Those 49 processes could be grouped together into 5 different process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and then closing process group. Anybody remember how many processes were in initiating?
2,
Yeah. And planning?
24,
Yeah. Executing?
10,
10. Yeah. And monitoring and controlling?
12,
Yep. And closing?
1.
That's awesome. So they were total 49 processes. Remember guys, just one thing before moving further. PMI always keep on improving project management standard. We call it PMBOK, PM Body of Knowledge, Project Management Body of Knowledge. Its current version is version 6. Previously, it was version 5. And in version 5, there were in total 47 processes. In version 6, there are 49 processes. What PMI does it after doing a thorough research and surveys, they always keep on editing those processes, adding new processes, removing some old useless processing, changing the naming conventions of different processes. Currently, PMI is working on its next version, that is version 7. However, version 7 is totally different from all the previous versions. Till version 6, that is our current version, everything is discussed with the help of processes. And PMI claims that this framework, these processes can be applied on most of the projects most of the time. However, as per version 7, they established the whole standard on the principles instead of on the processes. And they are establishing new principles for project management. And according to those principles, they will be equally applicable on all the projects and all the times. But good thing is, we need not to worry about that, because we really don't know that when version 7 will come and when we have to do some new learning. Now, let's talk about initiating process. We will briefly discuss all of these process groups. What activities we do in initiating? What do you think, guys? Myra?
From experience, we do a formal kickoff.
Yep. Okay.
Uh,
Formal kickoff of?
the project that's internal and external with the client and with the
Okay.
project team.
Mm-hmm.
And then we identify the team's roles and responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And also determine and agree on the project scope.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else? In fact, Myra, the points you mentioned, they are very, very important. And as per PMI, though practice could be different from organization to organization and industry to industry, as per PMI, all the work you explained is normally done at the time of planning. You talk about scope. In planning, we do scope planning. We agree on the scope. We define roles and responsibilities of team, and we do it when we are planning for our resources and for our team. According to PMI, kickoff meeting is started at the end of our planning. Normally we call it big day. Big day is the day when, especially in the construction projects where there are that is a multi-million dollars project. Big day is the day where our actual execution work starts, when our planning is fully done. But at the moment, we are talking about one step back, that is our initiating process. Initiating process is the process where project sponsor assigns a project manager to use the resources, to use the budget, and manage the project. In fact, during initiation, we develop our project charter, and project charter is the responsibility of project manager or project sponsor. What do you think, guys?
It's the project manager.
In fact, this is the responsibility of project sponsor.
Right.
Because in project charter, we identify or we authorize our project managers. We say that he or she is the one who will manage the project. Normally what happens is when project managers and teams are already working on different projects and everybody knows that this person is project manager, then that person is project manager. We might not even need to develop project charter. I have seen examples, for example, in 𝐂𝐀𝐏𝐿 transport, what they do is directly from the business case, they don't do any initiation activities. The reason, they know their project teams, they know their project managers, they know the budget, they know everything. They need not to develop project charter, they need not to do any initiating activities. Directly from the business cases, they develop work breakdown structure to define the scope. So I fully agree, it happens. But let's think about that project where the team is new and we really don't know. Maybe a client requested something and it is a totally new project. In that case, normally project sponsor, he is the one who developed the project charter. Okay. In project charter, what he does is he defines the project on a high level. He defines the scope, but on a very high level. Project sponsor also give authority to the project manager, also assign him or her with the available resources. High level risks are also identified in project charter. High level assumptions, high level budget, high level schedule, high level milestones, high level list of stakeholders are identified at the time of developing project charter. In fact, a project charter is 2 to 3 pages document that is developed by project sponsor with the help of project manager if he is available. If they still need to hire a project manager, okay, client requested, okay, we want you to build this house or this commercial property, and the project sponsor basically initiate the projects, develop the project charter, and after that, even they may hire a project manager if project manager is not available. But if project manager is available, project manager can help project sponsor to write this 2 to 3 pages document. We call it project charter. Any questions?
It's not so much of a question, Faiz, but that's what in our case, our sales team would actually be our project sponsors.
Yeah.
And then they'll pick up the brains from our solutions, normally from our pre-sales, which are network solutions engineers.
Yep.
Although assigning of a project manager does not come from their domain because it's from another department, which is from my department.
Yep. Yep.
Most of the documents in developing the project charter, it comes from our sponsor sales team.
Yeah, true. Based on client requirements, they develop the project charter, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, based on our discussion and very high level, even
very high level. True.
Even schedules are out, but very high level.
True. On a very high level, they may say that this project need to be completed in 8 months time, but on a very high level, the schedule is normally given, but the detailed schedule on the activities level is developed when we do our planning activities or when we do our project planning. Now let's move further. There are few entry points for project initiating. Can someone help me to read them?
Sure. So first one is business need.
Yep.
Begin a new phase of the project.
Yep.
Or project has so many problems that you reevaluate the business need.
Yeah. So what it is saying, when a new project is started, most of the time, project initiating activities are done from this point, from business need. These business needs could be internal, it could be because of client request or external. If this need is internal, maybe we are already working on the problem. Our business analysts and senior managers, they are already talking about business cases. They have already determined the funding. They already got the investment from the government or from their governance, and now it's time to start the project. On the other side, if it's external, there could be a client request. Client want them to do a task, to do a project for them, and basically this is the business need. Secondly, if we have a very giant project in which each phase itself is pretty large, then what happened is we separately initiate each phase, and there are chances that project managers or project team members may change during that phase. So initiating activities, which are in total two major activities. One is developing project charter. Second one is identifying stakeholders. These are two major activities. Okay. Then these activities are done for the next phase. As Grace previously mentioned, when they were upgrading their servers, that was phase one. When they were upgrading the software across the enterprise, it was second phase, and then last phase was configuration and change. And the next is project has so many problems that you reevaluate the business need. Mean you canceled out that project, and because of many reasons. Maybe it's not progressing well, it's not going to give us the benefit we were expecting, or it was costing so much money and it is not going to be completed on time at all, and we really want to fail, but wanna fail fast. Okay, so that our more time, more resources shouldn't be wasted. So in that case, there are chances that we just kill the project and start another project that should be more appropriate, more planned, more estimated, well estimated, so on and so forth. Any question? Okay. Then there comes planning process group. In planning process group, we do a lot of different processes, a lot of different activities. In fact, tomorrow we are going in depth of each of the process group. But here, just few comments. Now, normally at this point of time, project manager is assigned. She or he is the responsible to plan the whole project, not alone, with the help of project team members, with the help of subject matter experts, or with the help of even project sponsor under his or her guidance. But she or he is the responsible for the planning of the whole project from start till end. Here, the important thing is when project manager is planning, he or she should always keep the strategic objectives of the project in mind. The project activities, project deliverables that would be produced as a result of this project, they must be aligned with those objectives for which this project is started, this project is initiated, and investment was made for that. Now, when project manager do planning, no doubt in waterfall method, he or she do a very thorough planning for all the phases. If phases are too big, maybe phase by phase, but normally a very thorough planning is done upfront. More around 20 to 30% of the time is spent on that planning. However, as I mentioned you previously, even in the waterfall, this is not pure waterfall, but still it is iterative in nature. And I tossed up two terms. One was rolling wave planning, if you remember. The other was progressive elaboration. Both terms are interlinked with each other. What they say, where we do the detailed planning, but what we prefer is we do it in a rolling wave planning way. Mean as more and more information is available, when we progressively elaborate more and more information, we do more and more planning. In other words, for phase one, maybe we did a very thorough planning, but phase two, very high level planning. And for phase three, even we didn't even think about it, or maybe if we thought about it, maybe just on a vision level, not more than that. Once this work is completed or near to complete, we may do more detailed planning for phase two and a high level planning for phase three, so on, so forth. This is called waterfall planning with progressive elaboration and rolling wave method. Another important thing is, no doubt we do a very thorough planning in the start. However, it happens that when we are executing the project, when more and more information is available, then we should keep on planning. Similarly, when a change comes in the project, then we have to do our planning again. It means that project planning starts because of three reasons. Once our project initiation is done, project manager is assigned. Second, when more and more information comes out, we do more and more planning, mean progressive elaboration. Or when there is a change and we determine that change during monitoring and control, then to cater that change, if it is approved by our change control board or decision makers, then we do the planning for that change to cater that change. Any questions?
No, it's a good thing.
Okay, then there comes executing process group. Executing process group is very simple, though most of our time, most of our money, most of our resources are spent during execution of a project. Here what we do is we just follow our plan and keep on executing our work. Project manager is the one who direct and manage the work. He is the one who manage all the knowledge, all the information, all the data on the project. He is the one who keep on communicating with the senior management, keep on communicating with the team, so on, so forth. Project executing work is started at 2 points. When our planning is done and we kick off our execution, as Myra mentioned. Secondly, when there comes a change, we do the planning for that change. Now we have to execute that change. Okay. At that time, our project executing activities are done. Then there comes monitoring and controlling. Monitoring and controlling talks about two terminology, two terms. One is monitoring, one is controlling. Controlling is basically when we see that if our project is going as per our baselines, as per our expectations or not. If not, then adopt the strategies, adopt the techniques so that we can bring our project back to our requirements, back to our baselines, especially scope baseline, schedule baseline, and cost baseline. On the other side, monitoring is basically keeping an eye on many different bits, especially on the progress of the team. progress of the work, progress of the money spent, and also on the schedule, if we are on schedule or not. In fact, few things we can control, few things we cannot control. We can only monitor. We will talk about them later. It's here. So as a project manager, we control our scope. We don't want any scope creep into it, any unnecessary, unapproved scope into our scope, called scope creep. We want to keep control, want to keep schedule under control on time. We use a variety of different techniques for that sake. We want our project should be completed on budget. We try to control the cost. We try to control the quality and our resources. On the other side, few things we can only monitor but cannot control. For example, communications among team members, among the stakeholders. We keep on monitoring and see that if communications are effective or not. Similarly, risks are not under our control. We can only monitor them and can develop our strategies to manage those risks. Procurements, they could be controlled, but stakeholder engagement, we can still can monitor them, but we cannot control the stakeholders. So these are different activities that we do during monitoring and controlling. Project monitoring and controlling is done so that we can keep an eye on the changes, keep an eye on our work performance, keep an eye on our deliverables. From project monitoring and controlling, if our project is not working at all and we really want to stop this project and want to start again, then we go back to initiating stage. However, if our project is going well, but there are some changes requested from the client or any other stakeholder, then we might need to go back to planning. And then we can always go back from project monitoring and controlling to project executing. In fact, executing and monitoring and control, they go hand by hand. They go in parallel. As a project manager, we keep on directing and managing work. We keep on monitoring and controlling work. And once project is completed, we can go to our last process group called project closing. Then there comes closing process group. We do a lot of different activities so that we can appropriately close our project or a major phase of a project. When we are doing closing activities as a project manager, it's our responsibility that we should ensure that all the scope is completed, deliverables are of quality, all the paperwork, all the contracts, all the invoices are paid, lesson learned are done, clients accepted the outcome of the project. If work needs to be shifted from development environment to the operations environment, then it is already done. If work needs to be handed over to the client, then client satisfaction surveys or satisfaction feedback is received and final project report is done. Lesson learned are recorded. All the knowledge that came out of that project that was produced as a result of a project is well archived in the database of the organization, so on, so forth. So these are few activities that we do in closing process group. And here I am going to stop. We will keep on discussing different concepts tomorrow. Any questions so far?
You might be covering it tomorrow and people might have already seen it, but the table on page 28 and 29 is really good to put everything, the process groups and knowledge areas and processes into context.
Yeah.
So if it's helpful. That's all. No questions for me. Thank you.
Thanks. So in case you have any question, any query, you can always email me.
Thanks for that, Faiz. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
most welcome.
Another good session tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome, Grace.
Agree.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Thanks.
Have
Yeah,
a good
See you
thank
night,
guys tomorrow.
everyone.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Grace. Bye.
Bye.